Tabari. Utaibah became so nasty that he came before the Prophet and said, "I repudiate Islam." Then he spat at him, but his spittle did not fall on him. The Prophet prayed, "O Allah, subject him to the power of a dog from among your dogs."
If the Lord were really the all-forgiving deity Mohammed claimed him to be, he wouldn't condemn his prophet's cousin to be eaten by dogs for a little miscast spittle. But if Allah was who Mohammed knew him to be, the devil symbolized by the black stone of the Kaaba, he was something to be cast at those who stood between him and the things he coveted. This hadith was just part of the act. According to Abdul Bar,
afterwards Utaibah, accompanied by his father,
Uncle Abu Lahab,
on a journey to Syria. During the trip, their caravan halted at a place that, according to local people, was visited by wild beasts at night. Lahab told his companions, the Quraysh, "Make full arrangements for the protection of my son, for I fear the curse invoked by Muhammad on him." The people made their camels sit around Utaibah and went to sleep. That night a tiger came. It crossed the circle of camels and devoured Utaibah, tearing him to pieces.
This is proof Muslims will say anything to make Allah look like he's a real god. Madudi, in his Quran commentary, explains,
Abu Lahab's wickedness can be judged by the fact that after the death of the Prophet's son Harat Qasim and the passing of his second son, Hadrat Abdullah, Uncle Abu Lahab, instead of consoling his nephew in his bereavement, hastened to the Quraysh chiefs to joyfully give them the news that Muhammad had become childless.
What he doesn't see is Muhammad's character. More than a decade after they died, he arranged for his daughters to marry the sons of this vile man. Why, if Abu Lahab didn't have something Muhammad coveted?
Wherever the Prophet went to preach his message of Islam, Abu Lahab followed him and forbade people to listen. "I was a boy when I was accompanied by my father to the face of Dhul Majaz. I saw the messenger exhorting, saying, 'O people, say there is no deity but Allah. Say that, and you will attain success.' Following behind him, I saw a man who was telling the people, 'This fellow is a liar. He has gone astray from his ancestral faith.'"
Hadat Rabia tells us,
The Prophet went to a halting place of each tribe and said, "O children of so-and-so, I have been appointed Allah's messenger to you. I exhort you to worship only Allah. So affirm faith in me and join me, so that I may fulfill my mission." Following close behind was a man saying, "Children of so-and-so, he is leading you astray from Lat and Uzzah and inviting you to the religion of error, the religion he has invented. Do not listen to what he says and do not follow him." Abu Lahab cast stones until his heels bled. He said, "Do not listen to him. He is a liar."
He was indeed
leading
Muslims
astray, inviting them to the religion of error.
However, the reference to Allah is evidence this tradition originated in Yathrib, not Mecca. Allah was years away from making his Koranic debut. If those who were closest to Muhammad, his next-door neighbor and uncle, for example, were not convincing enough, the Prophet condemned himself.
"I have been appointed Allah's messenger to you. I exhort you to worship only Allah. So affirm faith in me and join me, so that I may fulfill my mission."
As a religious creed, this is sorely wanting. Yet, seen through the eyes of an abused boy seeking revenge, coveting power, it makes perfect sense. As a religious scam, everything is cause and effect. Eventually, the clans of the Quraysh boycotted Muhammad's lean and lowly group of followers, socially and economically.
Abu Lahab,
we are told by Ibn Hisham,
was the only person who sided with the disbelieving Quraysh against his own clan. This boycott continued for 3 years. The poorest of Muhammad's followers began to starve. This, however, did not move Abu Lahab. Ishaq. Lahab and his wife mocked and laughed at him, so that the Quran came down on their wickedness. Carried thorns and cast them in the apostles' way.
According to Madudi,
When his uncle was condemned by name, the people learned that the messenger could treat a relative harshly in the matter of religion. When his own uncle was taken to task publicly, the people understood that there was no place for the ties of blood in this religion.
Which is to say that Mohammed was guilty of undermining the family unit. The
palm fiber
revelation is indicative of Mohammed, a window into his soul.
Quran 1:11. Perish the hands of the father of flame. Perish he. No profit to him from all his wealth and all his gains. Burnt soon will he be in a fire of blazing flame. His wife shall carry the crackling wood as fuel, a twisted rope of palm leaf fiber around her own neck.
Abu Lahab mouths off and tosses a few stones, so Mohammed sicks his God on his uncle and curses his cousin. Then, by way of confession, the prophet makes a point of telling us that neither inherited wealth nor monies earned will exempt his uncle from torment. The reason for the differentiation between old and new money was that Mohammed coveted the things that Lahab inherited. Qusay's religious scam. The prophet wanted us to know that the custodianship of the Kaaba wouldn't save Lahab because he had laid his claim. The Kaaba ink belonged to Mohammed. Allah told him so. Sometimes the smallest details tell us the most. Why do you suppose God would contradict himself and tell us that Abu Lahab's wife would be porting the firewood for hell when elsewhere men's bodies are said to be hell's fuel? Here's a clue. Arab fires were often fueled by the Saddam, shrubs that bore the thorns Abu Lahab's wife spread at Muhammad's door. Yes, Muhammad's mind was as twisted as the rope around neck.
Bukhari. Lodged in her neck is a twisted rope of palm fiber, the chain of which is the fire of hell.
But as bad as all of this looks, we're just getting warmed up. A family schooled in religious hoaxes was starting another. Madudi explains.
In the earliest phase of prophethood, Muhammad passed through the most trying conditions. The whole nation turned hostile. There was resistance on every side. The prophet and a handful of his companions did not see the remotest chance of success. So Allah, in order to console him, sent down several verses. Allah said,
"The primary reason for inventing Islam is,
soon your Lord shall give you so much that you shall be well pleased." And Allah said,
"The second reason for inventing Islam is,
we shall exalt your renown for you. Even though our enemies are trying to defame you throughout the country, we, on the contrary, have arranged to exalt your name and fame."
Actually, Muhammad didn't have an enemy outside the burg of Mecca, which is to say that Allah's worldview was alarmingly stunted. And even the term enemy was grossly overstated. Muhammad's tribe scoffed at his revelations. They chided him and laughed at his expense. Unlike a real enemy, they hadn't attacked him, imprisoned him, or destroyed his home, the kinds of things Muhammad would do in Mecca, and his followers do to this day. Madudi says,
such were the disturbing conditions under which the 108th Surah,
aptly named Preeminence,
was sent down. The Quraysh were angry with the prophet. His companions became helpless, poor people who are being persecuted and tyrannized.
There is something about Islam that corrodes the mind. The behavior Madudi is railing against is the very legacy of Islam. Every Islamic nation is a tyranny. Their people are poor. The non-Muslims are persecuted. For good measure, they even persecute their own, especially women. It is astonishing that an Islamic scholar can write these words without seeing himself in the mirror.
Furthermore,
Madudi continues,
he was bereaved by the death of his two sons, one after the other, whereat his nearest relatives, clan, and neighbors were rejoicing and uttering such words as were disheartening and disturbing for a noble person who had treated his enemies most kindly.
Kindly? Never in the course of human events has a religious man treated his own clan, his detractors, his kin, so hatefully. Muhammad's spirit tongue-lashed the Meccans in the Koran and condemned them to hell. He would beat the hell out of them by raiding their means of sustenance and conquering their town.